Childhood video game addiction is caused by physiological and psychological changes of the brain and may lead to other addictions later in life. Video game addiction is a relatively new problem, slowly gaining recognition as a true disease. In general, adolescent boys are the main group where this disease is prevalent.
The requirement to be considered an addict is not just screen time. Video games must affect other areas of your life, such as social and family relationships, education performance, and mental and physical health. Some players reported playing up to 14 hours a day, but did not show any adverse effects. There are physical changes in the brains of addicts. Tissues in the limbic system are altered to produce and release more or less neurotransmitters, mainly dopamine. The limbic system of the brain deals with impulse control and regulation of emotion, which is why such drastic changes in behavior occur in addicts. The limbic system also has a huge role in formation of memory and learning, which is why you see decreased performance in school from addicts. The amygdala, part of the limbic system, contributes to sexual behaviors. Because of the physiological changes of the limbic system, video game addicts have symptoms closely related to ADHD, suffer from depression and/or anxiety, and are more likely to abuse pornography. Dopamine is a chemical signal in the brain that plays a huge role in addiction and was once thought to be linked with only pleasure. It is now considered to be closely related to motivation. In all types of addicts, dopamine releases a high feeling that can keep a person hooked. For a drug addict, the drugs force the brain to produce more dopamine. In video game and gambling addicts, dopamine is naturally produced by the brain at higher levels because it anticipates a reward. If a tolerance is built up, the brain needs increasing amounts of dopamine to achieve the same effect and can lead to the downfall of the addict with lack of motivation and craving for the same feeling. There is no data citing whether the physiological and psychological changes in the brain of a video game addict are reversible or not, but video games and gambling are so similar in presentation that we should be concerned that a child addicted to video games is at greater risk to be addicted to gambling later in life. A hot topic in the media and pop culture today is whether violent video games are the cause of aggression and violence. This topic came to light when a school shooter was said to have played a lot of violent video games. Violent video games are portrayed as a bad thing, and that kids will follow their lead. However, there is no data to back this claim, and in fact may be completely wrong, as some studies have found a decrease in youth violent crimes with respect to playing violent video games. It is interesting, though, that there is an increase of violence in children with video game addiction. There needs to be more research put into this field to figure out how to help these kids with video game addiction and how to lead them away from violence. Video games aren't a bad thing in moderation. Studies have shown that they can actually increase the reaction time of a user. But as soon as someone falls into the category of addicted, the trade-off of better reaction time is not worth the loss of motivation, increase of aggression, and the possible risk of future addictions. Overall, video game addiction takes a very negative toll on a person. They can suffer physically, mentally, and emotionally because of changes to the structure of their brain and the way that they work. These changes then leave the kid exposed to the risk of getting other addictions, mainly gambling, as they get older. Video game addiction is a real disease, and like any other addiction, it's not easy to overcome. A video game addict cannot simply just walk away from a screen, like a drug addict cannot choose to stop at any time. For real progress to be made in treating video game addiction, the stigma of just walk away needs to be overcome. Thank you for watching.